Mic check, 1, 2, 3, 4. 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 How's the buzz? Come to this one. Mic check 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. 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 What's that? What's that going there? Mic check 1, 2, 3, 4. 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 Mic check 1, 2, 3, 4.
2, 3, test.
1, 2, 3, test.
1, 2, 3, test.
1, 2, 3, test. Good morning and welcome to our monthly virtual community engagement session. I'm here with our Lexington 2 Superintendent, Dr. Nicholas Wade, and I am Dawn Chiava, the district's Public Information Officer.
Hello.
Well, that was great. Hope you all are doing well today, and we appreciate you taking the time out of your day's schedule to join us and get some highlights about some of the things that are going on in Lexington 2 and some of the things that we're hearing about from you, our stakeholders. And as has been the case the last couple of sessions, we have COVID is a topic of interest, but I'm thinking of last month. Today we will have some other topics to add into this. So anything before we start?
Nope. I'm excited to see what we have.
Okay, here we go. We'll get him talking. Our first question is COVID related. How is social distancing and contact tracing being handled on school buses?
Just buses or probably the whole,
You mean the experience?
oh, probably the whole experience.
Yeah.
So
Mm-hmm.
I mean, really with, so for social distancing, our buses are at 60% capacity. That's what's been the guideline. That's what we're following. So I mean, nothing on that end has really changed. And contact tracing, the same protocol is something that we have to follow, regardless of where it's at. So it doesn't matter. Contact tracing occurs when we become notified that there is a student or district employee who is positive, and it doesn't matter. We have to know the whole, where you were at all day, with whom, for how long, and we follow those DHEC guidelines. So I would say contact tracing on a bus, buses are included in that conversation, obviously, as well. But buses don't have like a separate procedure by any means.
Good. Here's a question. So are we going to have live sessions every day like our regular school routine?
Yeah, I would think eventually. I think that's my goal, because I think that you kind of have a far greater back and forth. And I know we've received a lot of positive feedback about doing these because people can actually refer back to them when it's on their own time if they're unable to make it live. So I think one thing that I would like to ideally do is kind of come up with something that allows there to be a mix where it can be recorded by our wonderful Lexington Tube crew, our student-driven multimedia group, that we can have it being recorded at different sites. I think what we are looking at, kind of similar to how there are guidelines, from the high school league for attendance and crowds and all that. I think we need to hammer that down about what that could actually look like. So we allow individuals to come in, but we're able to allow X numbers at the registration process. I think we got a few things I want to make sure we kind of work out there. But that's the goal, is to be able to kind of provide that opportunity where there's something in person. So in addition to getting questions from online, there can be some that are available in person, kind of what is happening right now with me going to each of the staff buildings,
Right.
to see staff of each of the buildings, but try and have that available to the community monthly and go from site to site.
Right.
So hopefully, because I know this Friday we're talking about fun topics with the building principals about end of the year events like graduation or promotion, prom, the pageants, and all of those things. So I think that kind of seeing how that kind of pans out, then that will kind of help provide direction for how we're going to do this.
Yes, so I know there's a lot of interest in what Dr. Wade just mentioned, proms, graduations and such. So stay tuned. We should have information in coming weeks, maybe on.
No need to start rumors.
Yeah.
I've been very pleased with how many of those have been forwarded to me, and the reality is nothing is solidified, and and that's something that's been a conversation amongst superintendents.
Sure. Yeah.
But we're having that conversation with our middle and high school people on Friday, and figure out what we can kind of start communicating, sooner than later about what we can all expect.
Yeah. Okay, question 3, and again, these are questions that we've gotten from our stakeholders out there, and we appreciate them. So I seem to be having trouble talking today, but we appreciate the questions. So keep them coming every time we put out solicitations, or just anytime. You can email Dr. Wade with anything you might want to know at the moment. So here's question 3. I have seen multiple teachers and countless students out due to close contact and having COVID. We also went through every stage possible in opening the schools before first semester ended. How do you think this is a sustainable, functional, or consistent? How is this better for the mental health of employees and students? Lots of questions.
Well, lots of adjectives. Lots of adjectives. So let's start. I'm going to start first with what I think I heard in the last part, which is because I think we. Well, I'm sorry. Oh, maybe I did mishear that. I know mental health will be part of my answer. No. I think it's about the consistency piece. So that was something that was coming through before the winter break, like kind of loud and clear, basically, how we had this metric, but then things were shutting down. People were, whether unintentionally or intentionally, having misunderstanding or sharing information that may have been incorrect. And that was something that obviously, as you know, in those last couple of weeks of December, we really tried to make sure we were able to clarify what a positive case meant, what quarantine actually meant.
Right.
But also the issues that we were finding with the 10% metric that we put in place for the fall, because that was including quarantine, which by doing it with Fidelity kind of made the situation look a lot worse than what the reality of it actually was. So one of the things that we attempted to do going into January was kind of clarify and clean up a lot of the language, the misinformation that was out there, in addition to how we're going to be moving forward and determining when schools or even classrooms or grade levels or whatever would actually end up going to remote. So we try to do the best that we can. I know we received positive feedback that answered a lot of questions that many people still kind of felt confused about, given, social media's role in all that. So I understand. So I think that was the first step. And I know I know then we went to remote learning for 2 weeks and everything else. And I think what's really concerning about the mental health piece, kind of going into that, and what we're doing for all of our students, it sounds like the question is more about having them being in face-to-face is causing these issues. And I'm not going to say it may not be, but also at the same time, we know the issues it's causing when our students are actually not in our schools or in our classroom. Basically about what may or may not be happening at home, or maybe supports that they have at home, and the issues that creates about their level of engagement in the learning process. I think what I always say when I have this conversation with anyone is, do not make the assumption that just because we are remote, that the same level of learning is occurring. And that's not a knock towards anyone. That's just kind of the reality of the situation, that we're facing. So to say that we go to remote, that everything just somehow goes, I don't know, just transitions over. That is an assumption I really strongly caution people not to make, because we're not taking into a number of other variables, mostly about what is available at home. And we're also making the assumption these students, when they're remote learning, regardless of age, have an adult at home. And I don't want to get into that, but I mean, there are a lot of those concerns. So I know this is more about what's happening face to face, but the flip side is we know what happens when they're at home, when they're remote, or even with a lot of concerns that we have within our virtual academy. And even in our virtual academy, if you're looking just by student achievement, it's really split into two groups. We got some that are running away with it, they're doing really well, and we have others that we're just wondering, are you even there? And so when you kind of look at what that means, where we're still looking, we have a quarter of our students, which is about 2,200 of our students enrolled in virtual academy, and half of them are performing in an end that we would really like to see them kind of get out of. I mean, there's a lot of consequences to every decision that we tend to make, whether it's remote, virtual, or face-to-face. And the best thing we can do is communicate what led us to this decision, the steps that we're taking to try and provide the best that we can. And we know that every day, every week, and every month, there's always some new wrinkle that kind of goes into it, and we have to be able to address it as we can.
So
that's a lot, but that was
it
also a lot of a
I kept
question.
thinking, okay, let me follow up.
That was
on
a big question
okay,
too.
On that, yes, and that was a great question. So it's going to say, do you think that I've heard some folks ask? So did the 2-week remote period after winter break? You think that did a kind of a good job at what our goal was, which was to try to cut down on some of that exposure? Do you think?
Yeah. Oh no, that definitely did, and I know a lot of people weren't entirely thrilled with that. With being remote for 2 weeks, especially coming off of the winter break. I live with someone who also did not receive it well. So, I mean, that helped. I mean, we got an idea of our student numbers, the reality of the student numbers. And, I'm not going to go off of what people like to post, but also really kind of helping to get an idea about what we can do in terms of staffing.
Right. Okay. Next question, and this is a good one, and I will follow up and say we have posted, before I even ask, we have posted a story with some of that we'll keep updating with some of the latest DHEC news on vaccines, and so that's what this next question is about. But if you look at our website, we'll continue posting that link. We have it at both Lex 2.0 and then as a standalone story, because the information is also good and worth pulling out. So here we go. Is there any time?
I was already chuckling about the vaccine. Yeah.
Is there any time frame yet on when teachers will be able to obtain the COVID-19 vaccine?
Timeline is still late winter, early spring. I think with the vaccine right now, what like every state's kind of facing is the supply. And I think as that supply comes in, then we'll obviously get more information about how that rollout's going to happen. Something that I keep having in all my, staff conversations, one of the things I kind of keep reiterating is the role of the school district is quite minimal. It's really this rollout is being facilitated by the hospitals, and what our role actually is, it's really confined to them reaching out saying, we're ready for this employee group, please give us their information, their contact information, we give it to them, then they reach out to our employees to set up a time to go get the shot if they choose to. So with that, we have not received any new information. Then, unfortunately, I shared with staff about 2.5 weeks ago, because frankly, there's no supply to really start moving that along. And I think what I saw recently, they're saying it's almost 600,000 people would be part of Phase 1B, in addition to those that have not been reaching in Phase 1A. So that's a lot of doses that need to start making their way to South Carolina.
Yeah.
And, just kind of I'm going to add this, even though it wasn't part of the question, but I know I've been getting them from, from staff and other people, which only shows people do watch our board meetings. When I gave the COVID-19 update, I said we need to be mentally preparing for the fact that even with the vaccine here, opportunities for our students and staff next year like this year.
And you made me think of something, but do we have any idea of whether when the vaccine is available, if we're going to give it at schools?
Right now, we don't have that information. I know when you go, it's fun hearing even from colleagues in different states or even here how some superintendents are trying to approach it differently. And the reality is we don't have enough information right now. Like in theory, could our nurses administer it? They could, but also then I have to reconcile with, do I want to force that responsibility upon them to administer to their own colleagues? And of course, obviously, what happens if there was need for a medical emergency? We're not in a hospital, which could be easily addressed. So then, I'm already thinking with a lawyer hat on, I would actually probably need then to have other additional medical personnel on standby just in case someone does have an adverse reaction. Like, for example, I'm allergic to penicillin. Allergic to penicillin. So obviously that's already kind of a flag or concern, for this vaccine. And kind of work around that. So I think those are the things that take into consideration. We don't know. We know it's not overtly common that there's a reaction, but we have to take that in consideration as an institution. I know Mr. Hinton, he loves to kind of share with me the stories of H1N1 and how that was, and will that happen? I don't know. It could, but right now we don't have that information to say one way or the other.
Yeah. One thing, when we were just talking about vaccines in school, it made me think about and we've touched on it in previous community sessions about COVID testing in schools. Any updates on that, or? So
right now we, all of our nurses have been trained with parent approval, like if a student is symptomatic, we could have a rapid test, and at least just gives you an indicator. Even if you're positive, you're still going to be encouraged to go get a full-blown test, right, to validate those initial results. But, even if it's negative, but you're still exhibiting symptoms, you still be sent home and monitored and everything else. So we offer it. It's there.
Probably, yeah. And I wanted to bring that up and give you an update on that. So thank you for sharing that. One thing to note is those tests are given to students and staff who are symptomatic. It's not if your child tests positive, then that you as the parents can come in and get tested too. It is only for those in the school, not for their families or family members or the community. Yeah. So just to share that as well. That's yeah. Yes. I thought about
yes.
that. Yeah. Okay. So here is I think the rest of the questions are non-COVID. Is there anything you want to wrap up a bit, put it on a bow for this time only on COVID?
No, because surprisingly, I have not received that many questions about COVID. So I'm kind of happy to hear it wasn't all of a sudden this last juggernaut push. But I think obviously we're kind of in that holding pattern. I know a lot of people want to know what's going to happen for next school year. And I can say, we're going to be starting to have that conversation this month and next, starting with what we want to do with the virtual academy going into next year, especially as I kind of alluded to or said earlier, that there are some concerns about attendance and engagement and maybe we have to take some steps to ensure there is some shared responsibility, in that, and how does that affect participation into next year. And those are all going to be fun conversations, but hopefully then leading to March, I can start sharing this is what we're thinking about doing for next year. And I've been very open saying that however we end this year, it's going to be then we should expect that this is what's going to be offered next year. So, so I'm hoping to have more information for everyone over the next couple of months, because as we start registration, I think, everyone needs to know what they're registering for.
Right.
Yeah,
so stay tuned. Early spring, we'll be sharing some information with you. And just to keep up, we have our Lex 2.0 on the district website tab at the top on the right-hand side. It's where we put all of our latest communications about COVID. We put resources and other kinds of information that we think might be of interest to our stakeholders and families. So just be sure to check that out as well. And we will move on for the moment from COVID.
Yeah.
Here we go. What are you doing to promote diversity and inclusion in Lexington too?
You know what? That's actually been a recent question that's been posed, and I think it's because many have Googled me. You know, and you know, so and I think that's something too. Like I want to be where that starts first. It starts in the schools and staff preparation and training, because like a lot of things, you know, especially whenever I talk to students or feedback from students and some parents, is basically we need the students to feel like that they are safe and respected within the classroom, regardless of what they look like, where they come from, or what even their particular values are. And that starts where the plan is, like if you kind of, you know, moving forward, we need to kind of have staff really kind of we need to engage with staff and having that training and that preparation. That's just from like, not only just like social emotional learning and being able to feel comfortable enough to engage with students about what is occurring or happening within their lives in a very objective and assistive way. In addition to where you throw in the elements that, you know, are really, and I do not think I'm using the wrong term, but everyone can feel free to correct me, but that cultural competency piece, that awareness of where other individuals come from, and being reflective that maybe about how we kind of carry ourselves, whether unintentionally or not, may be received negatively by others. And we need to be cognizant of what that effect has on not just with students, but their families and parents, and how we engage with the community. And those are two certainly heavy-handed pieces. I can say, in addition to mental health, SEL, SPED supports, bilingual supports, cultural competency, and everything that entails, really is part of like what's going to eventually, spoiler, be part of a multi-year proposal that we can kind of start providing those necessary supports in, you know, to engage. And I think the other piece of that is not just the staff training, but now you're getting into also everyone else's favorite topic, which are curriculum materials, because that is part of what I feel that question is really referring to, or at least the questions I've been getting as well that are kind of tied to that, is really looking at, is our curriculum accessible to all of our students? You know, are all voices being heard? You know, whether in ELA or especially in social studies, and you know, the reality is there have been obviously compromises in those areas historically, but that may not be accurately reflective of what our demographics are around us, or even the history itself. And I know that can be a far more sensitive issue, but that's a necessary conversation to have. So people can come into our classrooms and into our buildings and feel like what they are learning reflects them as well. In addition to obviously all the necessary skills you need to be a successful learner, but you got to have that sort of attachment. And that's in a nutshell.
I expect that's something we'll hear more from you on in.
Spoiler, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, and this is a topic we're really enjoying talking about these days. Can you please talk about the arts in Lex 2 and provide an update about the district's Performing Arts Center?
Well, there was a nice little article in the Post and Courier.
Post and Courier's Columbia edition.
And so right now, you know, we're still moving forward with all the designs and everything with the Performing Arts Center, where, you know, and the new district office that'd be out there on 12th Street Extension in Saxagatha. And really what I'm hoping to announce in the next couple of months is that we're actually going to be creating a district-wide committee with the intent to really audit or, you know, assess our current fine arts opportunities for all of our students. And I'm not just talking Saluda and Busby. I'm talking about all the opportunities that are available in each of our schools, and what's going to be necessary to make sure that those are made whole, how they can be supported and sustained, and where are some new opportunities that we can kind of bring forward with this new realignment with the value and importance with fine arts, in addition to other ventures that we've kind of gone for historically. So I'm hoping that with that committee, like, we know what we need to do, but I think we're at a point that I'm of the mindset that I can have the broad brush strokes of what we intend to do, but we need people that are in the trenches, whether it's teachers, admin, students, and parents, to figure out what we can provide as a district, where some additional partnerships that we need to go out there and actually get, to really realize a lot of other opportunities. But I also want to look at district-wide opportunities to be able to move forward, like whether at multiple grade levels, but imagine a district-wide, choral venture or orchestra and band and all that, and really kind of start having that district-wide mentality of what we can do, and that may include extracurriculars or additional courses, and what courses could be held at the Performing Arts Center as well. What are some experiences that we can bring into the Performing Arts Center? That would be able to expose students to what you can actually participate in the future potentially. And, and even for educators, it's a place for us to kind of meet as a district, post-COVID, to meet as a district and look at all the different PD opportunities that we can have there, because now it's a place that we can go out there and we can kind of collaborate with either other neighboring districts, organizations, or associations, and bring in up-to-date professional development opportunities that are in line or in sync with what we're trying to move forward in as a district. So there's a lot of opportunities there for it. So I'm hoping over the next couple of months we can more formally announce these things and get in a number of different opinions. But the Performing Arts Center does signal to everyone that we are kind of realigning ourselves with the importance of the fine arts for all students. We've done a lot here with the trades here at the Innovation Center. Obviously, then there's athletics, but what are we doing for the fine arts groups of students? And I think the last one was a question about STEM, and I know that's going to be the next. I can already see someone sending an email. You didn't even mention, you didn't mention STEM or STEAM. More appropriately when you include the fine arts portion of it in STEM. But that's another piece too. That's not only just about curriculum and staffing, but we also need to look at our facilities to make sure they're conducive to meet what is considered STEM. I've only been here for 32 days officially, right? No, I'm just, but no, you know what I mean. Yeah. So we'll see what the next 30 bring. But that's all that is happening simultaneously.
So if I'm an arts parent and I heard you say, district-wide committee or community committee, if there are opportunities for me to, express an interest in something or get involved, will that be something that you might put out information about at a later point? Absolutely. Yeah. And I say that's something we've been really excited about talking about. As most of you may know, the Performing Arts Center is the culmination, the final project in our 2014 voter-approved construction project, which is, opened new schools, upgraded the others, and now there's this kind of, final piece to it. So we're really excited as all of this comes together. We'll have a groundbreaking sometime this spring, I would say.
Yes.
I think that's what Mr. Eisenhower said. So yeah.
Yeah. I delegated that to Mr. Eisenhower.
So,
yeah.
So anyways, we're really excited, and we'll be putting out information and updates about it. So stay tuned, and we shared that Post and Courier story on our social media. So if you want to read more about that, you can. And next question here is, as Lexington 2 is a smaller district, why are the high schools not on the same time schedule? There are several questions in here, so let me ask you. So Brooklyn, Casey, and Airport open and close at different times. Classes are at different times, etc. Should this not be adjusted to ensure more uniform schedules for students, especially for those who may attend classes at both of the schools or at the Innovation Center where we are right now?
Yes. As anyone who knows me, I don't like inconsistency. However, with that being said, I know I kind of came in the middle of things, but I think the reason why for this year was trying to figure out, obviously, when we had hybrid, there was hybrid, and are we transitioning to face-to-face? There was a virtual academy, but some of those virtual academy kids had to come to the Innovate. I know there was all that, and that was happening, and I'm not trying to slough it off. But the reality, but we know what we have is because we were trying to figure it all out. And so what I'm going to say is moving forward to next year, we know what works and what doesn't work, but, that will be a conversation.
So There you go. And here's the next, when will the district start, this kind of goes with your diversity question we just talked about. When will the district start addressing the needs of our Hispanic community and our ESOL teachers?
Yeah, we're going to be. Spoiler, we actually have
Break
at the
a lot of
rate.
news
Yeah,
here.
yeah. There's a lot. Well, yeah, right. Yeah. I think. I'm sure everyone just wants to just drop the binder and tell us what's going to happen. So at the February board meeting for this month, I hope to have a comprehensive presentation for the board that kind of shows what our current population is in relation to bilingual ESOL services and really what we are kind of currently providing and what we need to do to really meet the needs of the students, their families, and our overall Hispanic community. Our ESOL teachers and Ms. Wise, who's serving 3 different roles, but one of them is also as our ESOL coordinator. They're all doing fantastic work with what has historically been given. I think that's been a big priority of mine, is that we really need to kind of meet the needs of a large chunk of our population, and that includes really bringing in interpreters, because right now we're not getting by. I almost said we're barely getting by, but I think that'd be disingenuous. We're doing the most with what we have. So we need to look at interpreters. We need to make sure that a number of documents are available also in especially here in this consideration, Spanish. But we need to make sure all of our instructional materials are available in Spanish. We're not purchasing separate curriculum materials that's separate from what the core curriculum is that everyone else is getting, because that doesn't go into like inclusion or equity or any of that. But we also need to make sure we have a full-time bilingual director, which we haven't had for quite some time, and getting additional staff members who can speak Spanish, or even trying to offer opportunities for our staff to start learning Spanish. Even getting where I came from, we had a bilingual parent action committee, but that's something we would need to kind of put in place too here. There's a lot there. I'm not even doing it justice, and I think that's something that's been near universal from all the buildings, no matter who I talk to, is like, what are we doing? And everyone, because they're not blaming, again, the SOL or, it's like we're doing everything we can, but where's that emphasis coming from? And I've been telling people that's going to be an emphasis of mine moving forward. So I'm hoping that, we kind of have the presentation of where we're all at, and this kind of provides a little roadmap of what we have to work on, but, really it can't happen without getting in place a full-time bilingual director that can then start that process and hit the ground running, because there's a lot there.
So, and again, I'll say, if I'm a parent and this is an area I'm interested in, will you, at the time we know more, release information about how I can get involved?
Yeah, because it's even like, I kind of like overlook this, even our bilingual programming, we don't really have that. And you need to be able to kind of offer that, where you assess what the language level is. And I'm not talking just the general sense of access and all that. I mean, you're looking at, like, we have students that they're 90%, Spanish at least. And so we need to have an actual continuum throughout multiple grades. Where we're at right now, we need to have a continuum throughout multiple grade levels to kind of rise to this occasion, to really kind of have them be able to be included in the general learning environment as well. And I think in the last question a few questions ago, when it was about inclusion, I think what I did leave out, and I want to make sure I kind of circle back to it, is including students that can kind of transition from a self-contained to a full-time general education setting, that inclusion. And there's there are other resources and settings, and South Carolina's kind of dipping its toe. It's something that we fully implemented for our IEP students and our up there EL, but ESOL students, and where basically it's a co-teaching environment for everyone. That's another significant resource and benefit that assists and kind of alleviates down the road potential achievement gaps or compounded learning deficits. There's a whole lot there, but I understand the Hispanic and bilingual services, and again, like, everyone's really working hard, but what everyone needs is a commitment moving forward.
Good stuff in this session, I'm telling you, and a lot to come. So, yeah, I mean, there's
Yeah.
a lot that we were like, yeah, stay tuned. But yes, as you know, parents know,
Well,
spring is a busy time, and there's a lot.
well,
that we've
yeah,
got coming
well,
up.
that kind of goes into,
Yeah.
I made the joke, I've only officially, 32 days,
We've
but
only
like,
been here
but,
long.
I know, I know a lot of people, it's kind of like I want to do everything on the first day, and I'm going to wipe it all out my second day, so I have something to do on my third day. I think that's the thing that I really need to stress to everyone is, even though if it may not be happening in the time frame you wish it to, it does not mean it's being ignored or tabled. It's about how we can best move forward with the information that's available to everyone, and obviously building kind of like having people coalesce behind the best path forward. I mean, because I still get lots of, from staff and from parents, questions about the consistency of curriculum. Additional teacher supports, or where are our social workers or mental health our SEL opportunity. There's a lot else, and I want to kind of tell everyone, it's like, I hear that, and I think anyone who's caught me in the hallway or sending me an email, it's genuinely on the radar. Everyone jokes about my list, and it's on the list, but there's a process to go about there, and I also think there's lots of important items. And a lot of these items are also of equal importance to the board, but, and we need to be able to kind of go out there and share all the information where we're at. I think it's important for everyone to know where we are objectively at. So that way, when the approach comes, we don't have questions about, well, where did that come from? Well, it came from because of what we're currently facing or what our actual needs are. And of course, does it fit in with the large scale, budget? And how do we go about prioritizing that? So there is a lot, and I do hear it, and I'm definitely not discounting anyone's concerns, but I just want to kind of take this as an opportunity. It's like, I know there's a lot else, but obviously there's a process.
That's all the formal questions I had. There are a couple things I wanted to remind folks about, but what else, is there anything else you can think about that's going on in February that you want to bring attention, any attention to in particular? I was going to mention that when you were talking about the teacher fairs going on this month. So we're doing it a little bit different. Some of you who've been in the community a while know that every year we typically have a really big teacher recruitment fair, and all the schools are gathered in a single location, and candidates come through. This year we're trying something different, giving our job candidates a choice about what they want to do. We're offering in-person events at each of our schools, and we are socially distancing. You have to register in advance for it. There's information on our website, but it's an opportunity for our teacher candidates to come in, sit down face-to-face with the school's administrators, and be able to kind of get a glimpse of the school that you're interested in. You can make appointments in advance at any of the schools that you're interested in. So we've got the in-person one-on-one option, and we also have a virtual fair coming up in March. But the teacher fairs start, I think a couple weeks from now, since we're just getting into February. So that was something I'm excited about. I like the choice for candidates for whatever they're most comfortable with, and I sure like the sit down with the school administrators and being able to kind of get a sneak peek at the school that you might be interested in. Is there anything you want to add about that? Okay.
No,
Yeah.
I think, over the this month and next month, I think especially at board, I think you kind of see the seeds being planted for something that, that we hope then to kind of communicate, larger endeavors moving forward.
Yeah. So go to our website. If you know anybody who's interested in being a teacher, this is a great small community to be a teacher in. So go to our website, get the information about it. There are two other job opportunities I wanted to talk about just briefly. First is school bus drivers. We are always looking for school bus drivers, and we are offering credit for anybody who's been in commercial driving, and if you've served in the military, and that credit of years experience in those previous areas helps on the salary scale. So ask us about the school bus drivers. We've got a story on the website about that. And then finally, substitute teachers. We contract with ESS for substitute teachers, and it is a great way if you're looking for a flexible schedule. You can, I know in cases you can request where you'd like to work, what days you'd like to work. There are benefits that come with that in terms in health and medical and some 401k opportunities. So it's a great opportunity if you're looking for something with some flexibility. So check that out. That's on our website too. And what else do I want to tell you?
You know what?
I
You know what?
jogged your
No, I
thought
actually,
process
no,
because I'm
I
yapping.
actually remembered. Yeah, because I believe our student media group, our Lexington Tube, they're gonna have their first episode this month. So I'm really excited. Apparently, I'm being interviewed, so we'll see where that goes.
Yeah.
I am
Are you in
concerned.
the, are you
I'm
in the
kind of
green
concerned.
hot
Well,
seat again?
well, Ms.
I'm
Ms.
in the
Reamer's
hot
look
seat.
over there suggests I should be. I don't know. But I'm really excited for that to come out because I think our students have been doing a fantastic job. And I know they have been working on a couple other little projects, and I think everyone can be really excited about what's going to be kind of coming down the pipe with what they're planning. So that'll be a very fun thing.
And I'm glad you brought that up because it kind of segues into my last thing, which is, we do our virtual community sessions from the Innovation Center here in Lexington too, opened a couple years ago, state of the art and fabulous. And it is Career in Technology Education Month. And it is an opportunity if you are a family here in Lexington too, in the district area, it is a great opportunity to check out the programs here. It's not, there's certainly the traditional programs of welding, cosmetology, auto repair and such, but there are some huge programs too, digital art, the production that we are doing here, some health and science programs, sports medicine, engineering, aerospace engineering, all kinds of stuff that you probably never even dreamed of. And early college and career programs here are fabulous. And whether your kid is in elementary school now, middle school, or going into high school, it is worth checking out the programs here. And Cape Month is a great time to do that. So, have I talked enough?
I got nothing else.
It's the BIO's virtual community
Yeah.
session. Sorry about that. Anyways, you want to close for us?
No, thank you for coming. Please keep sending questions. I'm kind of happy to see what the list was because I feel like they do reflect what I get.
Yeah.
So it's always good to know.
Exactly.
That there's more. More out there. But yeah,
Our
looking forward to next month.
Yep, our next session I think is March 3rd. It'll be the evening session as we rotate, so it'll be at 7 p.m. Watch our district social media, and we might give you some messages at home too to tell you where you can tune in and give you a form to submit some questions. So anyways, we hope you have a great rest of your day. I was going to say Wednesday. Have a great rest of your day, and thanks again for joining us today.
Thank you.
Bye.